Yeah, so guys, so in this teaching, basically, I'll be teaching you how to actually use your trend line. So, um, but first off, I would like to show us a schematic of how market will trend for you to actually draw a trend line, right? If you watch the structure 101, right, you are going to basically know what how structure will portrays itself in a downtrend and an uptrend market condition, right? So now, so we have a high there, a high, a low, a lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, right? So in a downtrend market condition, right, you actually want to connect, you know, the lower highs together, right? Something like this. The lower highs. It is basically, the body staying below, below the trend line. The wicks can come through, right? The wicks can break through the the trend line, right? And there are some price action condition that you have to consider too. Not that you are just going to, once you see something and then you are just going to go all in. You have to consider some things. You have to have rules, right? I'm still going, and I'm going to give us some of the rules that I've backtested that, and they've worked past in time, right? So now, for a downtrend, you should know that this is a clear downtrend because they have continuously a higher, lower highs, lower highs, lower highs, right? And you are connecting them together. That is what makes it a downtrend because it continues going lower, right? It was making a subsequent low. This is a high, a low, a lower high, a lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high. A subsequent lower highs. You have to look for what is most frequent there. What is most frequent? What is most frequent is lower highs, lower low, lower highs, lower low, right? And that is why it's a downtrend market. And you can use this for all time frame perspective actually. But basically, right, you you should know that I used to always recommend higher time frame, right? Because that is where the institutional funds are coming in heavily. So you don't want to fade higher time frame. You should always stick to higher time frame. Don't fade higher time frame. All right. No matter what, always reference higher time frame because number one thing is it is going to keep you in line with institutional orders, either buy or sell. Another thing is it is going to give you a lot of more kind of discipline in price. When you don't see a setup in smaller when you don't see a setup on a smaller time frame, you don't want to rush it because our time frame is not supporting it, right? So those two things are very, very, good traits of a disciplined trader, right? So now the stuff is right. Basically, I some people will look for something like this in price, just that after it breaks out and then price will test that high and then it moves, guys. Well, that is the massive, well-known breakouts that people trade. All right, that after that breakout, you are going to have a sell. But I want to show you the use of a trend line that works, right? That works very, very well. Now, mind you, in this kind of price, in this case now, a downtrend turning to an uptrend, that is what you want to be experiencing, right? But now, how do you know this is going to be a higher probability trend line trade? Now, you can see price was trending lower, right? So in this price swing, you are going to be having smaller price swings to something like this. You can have a single price swing here to the low. All right. I'm still going to show us example in price, right? So how do you know it's a higher probability trade? Now, price can do something like this, touch that because this is a trend line, all right? This is a trend line, and then price can touches that low, of that trend line and then continue buying. But mind you, where you need to reference is used to find a good support for price. This trend line, it's not enough, right? It's not enough. You are just using this trend line to define the trend. Can't you hear the name? Trend line. Trend line. The name has already defined it works already. It is not a trade entry tool. All right. Trend line. All right. So now, as you can see, price created a smaller kind of support here. If you watch the support and resistance, classical support and resistance video I made, right? You can see it was coinciding with this, right? Most of because these are all geometrical, right? So sometimes it's going to it's going to coincide, right? It's going to coincide. You can see price is not reacting on the trend line. It was reacting basically on this price zone because this was a good support. This is a resistance initially, and then price breaks through and then turn it to support. All right. And that is why price will buy to the upside. Okay. Now, another thing you have to consider is because sometimes, right, price can, this kind of price swing, it can create multiple of this price swing. What do I mean by that? I'm going to give us, um, make sure you watch this video over and over so that you can understand, right? So, okay. So now you can see in this single price swing, right? Just pick your Fibonacci and then you draw from the high to the low, or from the low to the high, because you are measuring for a buy, because price just breaks through and then, you know, probably you're having, okay, basically you're having many price swing inside this, something like this, many price swing inside that, many price swing, and then you have it. All this price fluctuation might just be on a single leg like this. So how do you know which one to pick, which zone to pick? Choose your Fibonacci, take your Fibonacci, right? Draw this eye out in time, draw it out like this. But yet we are not having that high yet, right? But you are seeing these eyes being taken out. You have not seen the move happen already, right? So draw your Fibonacci and then extend it from this low to this high. All right. So any price swing on this left hand side that is below 50%, that is exactly what you'll be choosing. You can see anywhere below 50% like this. All right. That is where you'll be choosing for your entry. All right. And as you can see, a zone that is below 50% is exactly this zone, right? And then we pick that zone. You can see that's the zone. And then price can retrace deeper to this zone. And then you can buy from there, right? So now, can you see the confusion now? Now, the trend line has already been broken again. Some people will now be willing to sell again, but price is retracing to a very, you know, nice zone that is meant to be utilized. All right. So price broke through that trend line. Some people, they are already hunting for a breakout because price has already breakout and they are waiting for a retrace exactly on that trend line. That trend line will retest. You can see it has been retested and break through again. Some people will be confused that, okay, it has been broken again. Okay, I'm going to sell now. As you can see, it just came out. It can came out aggressively like this. All right. So now, these are somewhat kind of confusing case that you can have in terms of you buying out of a trend line, right? Of a downtrend market. If you are buying out of a downtrend market, you know, at a turning point, at a significant turning point, these are the things that you have to be considering. All right. So take this out. Okay. Yeah. So now another case you can see this is a downtrend, right? So probably you want to continue selling in this downtrend, right? You want to continue selling this downtrend, and if we haven't get probably you haven't see this third leg coming into place. You just have one, two, and then you just have a three leg, right? A higher probability trade, we should, by now, all of us should understand basic of candlestick pattern and stuff like that, because that's the basic thing that you have to, as a neophyte and as a Joe person in this industry, right? We should know that the number one thing that you have to know is knowing, understanding the psychology behind candlestick pattern, right? So now, if you want to sell in this case, because price is selling, right? Price is selling, sorry, price is selling, and you connect this low, this high, and this lower high together, right? So how do you know price is not going to break this high out? How do you know? Now, number one thing you have to know, the main important thing you have to know, you have to understand is if price posted a good support, turn resistance, because you can see price is going to every swing like this. If you look into that swing, you are going to have a smaller swing that look exactly just like this main swing, right? Something like this. Price is going to post a good support inside there, and price broke it through, right? So that is number one thing that you have to do for. Do you have a good support that has been turned to resistance, which is that low, all right? Which is that low there. And then number one thing is the candle engulfed? If probably you have a bullish candle, this is a bullish candle, right? And then we have a bearish candle that came in. You can see that bearish candle actually, you can see this is a bearish candle, this is a bullish candle, and it is being engulfed, right? You can see that if you see this on a 15 minutes, right? If you see this on a 15 minutes, if you go to somewhere like 1 hour or 4 hour, it is going to be printing. It might, this whole price movement might be multiple price action. But if you go to like 4 hour or 1 hour, it might just print just two candle like this, or daily. It might just print just two candle like this. And then what you'll be waiting for is just for price to trade back to this bullish candle, and then you can be a seller. So this kind of formation must be on this high for you to be, waiting for price to come back to that zone. Price might not even touch your trend line, and at sometimes price can touch it, all right, because basically that's support. And um, probably you can see you have the support traded back to, but what actually bet that support was this low that moved higher is this candle, and this sell that happened is this movement. This candle here is this up movement. This down sell that happened is this candle here. So waiting for that candle to be traded back to is as the same as waiting for this support to be traded back to, right? So from there, you have a good sell, all right? I've taught you, I've explained how you can have a continuation in a downtrend, and how you can have a reversal. When price is selling, you can reverse, right? And then turn to a buy. That was what I just, that was what I explained initially at the start of this teaching, right? So now, let's go for the buying case now. What will happen in a bullish trend, right? So now, if price is moving up, you should know, right? You know, something like this. We have a low, we have a high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high. So what was consistent in this whole trend was higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, which means that is the main component of this uptrend, right? So what are you going to be connecting together? You'll be connecting the higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows together, You can have multiples like this too, right? Connect everything together just to maintain the trend. All right. So now we have that. We have that. So how do we know price is actually ready to break out of this, or price is ready to actually move out and then reverse, probably to sell, to start selling, right? So now, as you can see, um, you can, don't forget what I said, you can have multiples move inside this candlestick alone, right? Or that price movement alone. So if you see something like this in price, price has already broke through, right? And then you'll be waiting for this support to be traded back to, because that was a support turn resistance, right? You can see sometimes it will not touch your trend line, because some people will be waiting for an entry on that trend line, just as I've explained initially. As you can see, it will just touch the support and then it will sold off, right? So what I used Fibonacci to explain in the other video, in initially for a selling case, right? You can use it right here too. And I want us to do that as an exercise, right? I want to tickle our brain a little bit. So you can use that to do an exercise for yourself. Probably you are getting it right. All right. So what I use Fibonacci to explain for a downtrend to a buy reversal, but this is a uptrend to a sell reversal, right? So that downtrend to a buy reversal that I used Fibonacci to explain, right? You can do it, you can do that as an exercise. So you can actually watch that over and over and then do the reverse for this. All right. So now okay. Hope hope we are following. Hope we are following actually. Yeah, so the other one that I explained too, that how do you find a breakout, a good breakout, or if you want to maintain this uptrend, the criteria that I explained for a bearish trend to be maintained, to be maintained, the criteria that I give for them, right? Either it has to have a good support or resistance, or a bearish engulfing or a bullish engulfing. Probably we are going to go back to understanding. Actually, I have multiple PDFs for candlesticks, right? So I'll be dropping the link in the description for you to have the Telegram link so that you guys can join, right? So now, you will do the same exercise for these two, right? Have to know the continuation of a trend, right? So now let's open the chart to show us a good example of what that actually looks like. So guys, this is people, and it's a crypto, it's a crypto project actually. So now we have a high there, a low, a lower high, right? And then we have a lower low, right? But inside this whole stuff, what do we have? What do we really have? Look now, I want to call our attention. You can see this was the old trend, right? Why am I picking this lower high and not this lower high? Now you can see this is a high and a low and a lower high, and this low didn't break the recent low. It has to break the recent low for you to know that that is a valid lower high that was posted on this high. Now this was the lower high prior to this high, or this was the high that created this, that broke this low. That was the true high there, or lower high. Why is it a true lower high? You can see it doesn't seem like a true lower high to you because it broke this high, right? And then it was a single high, right? But as you can, if you look to the left, this was recently high and this was a lower high, right? It's a lower high because it's lower than this previous high, all right? And then this high is responsible for this break in market structure, right? So that is why we'll be picking it. And there's a lot of criteria attached to this high, right? And then you can see that trend being maintained there. You can see we just broke, broke that. Now, don't forget, yeah, I nearly forget, yeah. Don't forget what I taught us in the first video, right, about good how to spot a good support and resistance. Now, this is a good example. Don't forget, I said you can have a shift in market structure, right? So we have this, something like this, don't forget, and then that, right? So this is a low, a high, a lower low, and then a higher high. Then you'll be waiting for this high to be traded back to. You can see this high right here, and then something like this. So just after we broke out of this candle right here, right, we have a high, we have a low, a high, a lower, a higher low, and then a higher high. So you can see how price traded back to that high that was left behind, and then that was the cost for this buy. So this is a good confluence because price broke through. So price broke this trend line, and then you are anticipating for a buy to occur, right? So what is going to be your confluence? Now, this is a good confluence for you to enter that buy, which is telling you that it's a good buy. So what is price really attacking here? Price is attacking this candle. Well, how sure are you that it's not going to continue, that this candle here is not going to push price lower? You can see that candle was not engulfed. It was not engulfed, just like I explained to us. This is a bearish candle, right? And then you have a bullish candle, and change the color for that. A bullish candle, something like this, right? A bullish candle, right? This is meant to be a classical engulfing candle, right? But what do we have? We have, you know, it was a reversed case, right? This is an example of a bearish RMA. And bearish RMA is the beginning of a selling case too, right? It's the beginning of a selling case too. But it was not really a criteria for us to sell aggressively to take this low. A classical engulfing, this is a classical engulfing, and it wasn't engulfed because you'll be afraid for this rejection that happens, right? The price might just continue selling, but it wasn't, right? So number one confluence, you have this kind of support in price. Number two confluence, you don't have engulfing, and this candle is not, powerful enough to push price lower, right? So that's a good example there. So now let's back to the normal trend line. But I just give us a good example of how trend can change. It was a downtrend to a kind of example of a classical bullish trend, right? It was changed, but the old trend didn't change from a bearish trend to a bullish trend, right? It was just a short term change in trend. And then imagine the kind of how many percent you'll be banking right on this move alone. Right on this move alone, it was around 130% just on a single coin. And that is if you are scalping, and if you are not the type that swing trade, right? If you are just scalping, you should imagine, you should know that long term you are buying, right? You are buying for the meantime. And this is why I said you should always spot your trade opportunity on a higher time frame. Now, if you I didn't mean you spotted this on a 1 hour time frame, right? This whole move might just last for just 2 days alone, but you can see how many days this price movement actually lasted for. Let me check how many days was that. It was how many days? Let me check. That's 51 days, like a month and some weeks, right? That's a swing. And if you are not a swing trader, right, you can just be capping over, because you know that it's a very long-term trade, right? Be scalping, and you know, for the fact that this was 130%, right, banked. If you're scalping, you can actually see more than that. You can be realizing some amount of probably close to 500% because all those short-term fluctuation, you'll be making opportunity of that, right? So you hope you understand that. Just watch it over and over, and then you back test it. You are going to understand very, very well. Now, you can see that we have this high and a low, and then we have a higher low. No, we have a lower high, and this lower high is betting another lower high. I'm not saying betting. This is what I meant. Betting. Like it's giving birth to a new kind of lower high, right? That is example of fractal in price. If you I'm still going to explain what factor is. I'm going to drop a whole lot of video about that. So we can see that price built a another lower high to this right hand side, right? But you should know that the reason why you have to pick that is because this high is not breaking this low. This was the high responsible for this breaking structure. And that is why you have to align that with the trend line. All right. Because if you align it with this, right, you can see that's a fake, you are getting a fake signal. Now see what happened. This is a high, this is a low, this is a high, a low, a lower high. And price is showing you a breakout already, which is not really so. Can you see that? And even though if you are having this kind of, and um we've already broke through, and you are seeing this in price, and price have not printed all these things, right? What did I tell us? I told us that the criteria is you have to go, this is a daily time frame now. Now, if you switch to a bigger time frame and you spotted, number one thing is we have a good support already, which is this. We have a high, a low, a higher high, and a lower low. These are our good supports. Can you see that? The first price action that came in didn't touch it, right? This was the whole stock that touched it. Now, you have to go to a bigger time frame to confirm probably it is being engulfed or not. Now, let's go to weekly. Now, see what happened on weekly time frame. Do you see that? This candle engulfed it. This is a bullish candle, this is a bearish candle. You can see how it engulfed it. So, if you are getting a signal that it has already breaked out, you should know that that's a fake signal because you are having strong confirmation for a continuation for itself, right? Strong confirmation. And as you can see, price hit that and then we continue selling. So a good support coupled with an engulfing candle, and then you can see how we continue selling to the low. So you can do this for a smaller time frame perspective too, but you have to be very, very nimble. What do I mean by that? Like very, very fast, because lower time frame, lower time frame price action are very, very brutal, very, very brutal, very, very, very brutal, because it's actually a higher frequency trading. So you have to know a lot before you can trade intraday. A lot before you can trade intraday. So now that's a good example for um, continuation selling. I've made I've explained uh, a continuation selling, right? And then I've explained reversal case here, right? So this was the number one thing I explained, and this was the you know second case that you can have. So now let's talk about the bullish side of it. Now let's probably let's choose Bitcoin, child. Or Ethereum. Should we choose Ethereum? Now we choose Ethereum, so we are going to be using this to explain the bullish side of it, right? When price is bullish, how do we know that it is actually very, very, very bullish? Okay. Or when it's changing trend from a bullish case to a selling case now, right? I want to look for a good example for us. Very good example. Let me choose, is it Genty? Let me choose Genty. It's not giving us a good example too. No. If, all right. Well, are not giving me because actually I'm looking for specific things that will actually teach in this video. So that's why I'm switching over to look for a good example for us. I don't just want to complicate things on a lower time frame so that can get more confused or stuff like that. Okay. Now for a bullish trend now, right? For a bullish trend, we have this low and this low connected, right? And then we have this break. We have that break in price. Now you can see this is what we are having. If you are the type that takes entry on the on the trend line, this might work for you for a short time because you can see just after we broke that trend line, we tested that trend line, right? So let me show you something. If you are, you be obviously you'll be placing your stop loss above the high, right? So now see what happened. Price went back to take that high. You see that? So you are out of the market already. If you are placing your stop loss on that high, because basically just after price broke this trend line, you can see those are the two kind of trend line. That 2 points, this point, and then price broke that high, that trend line, and it is being retested, right? It's being retested. You'll be placing your entry right on that trend line, and then you enter there. If you are doing it very well, let's see, yeah, the points, and then the points there, or something like that. So it was, it was touching that trend line, right? And as you can see, price came back for that high, and then a lot of people will be placing their stop loss on that high, and they are out of the market already. So why is price really now? Just after I told us if you want to have a continuation buying, right? How do you know it's going to continue buying, right? You can see just after we deepen into this, this is one, this is two, right? So now let's switch to weekly, right? Let's switch to weekly. Number one thing is we have a good support, right? Do we have a good support in price? How do we know we have a good support? This is a low, right? This is a high. As you can see, price didn't get to actually take this low out. This low was standing on its own, right? Price didn't reach to take that low out, right? And then price took this low and then this came in, we can buy aggressively, but that is not happening. We just have this, right? Mind you, this is not a good support. This high is not a good support there. Why is it not a good support? Because actually we are having another kind of um good support right here. See, we have a low, we have a high, we have a low, we have a high, we have a low. But overall high was this high, and overall low was this low because this high actually boosted this low. And as you can see, this low wasn't able to take that low out, which makes this a very, very good support to trade, right? You can see price came for that. You can see that. You see that. So we have a low, a high, a lower low, a higher high, and then price came back for that, and then we bought aggressively, and then we took out a high. This high is a very, very important and psychological high, right? So anything can happen right on this high, and you can see that just after we took this high, you can see our price just went lower aggressively. So I wouldn't say this is a very, very good support. It's a good support in terms of a short-term trading, right? Now, price has already used this support already. You can see we have a high, we have a low, a higher high, lower low. No, sorry. We have a high, a low, higher high, lower low, and then another higher high. And then we have this. You can see, well, price, you can see that rejection that happens, that little rejection that happens in price, right? And the reason why this wasn't really expected was price is heavily short. And you can see we are price is giving us a lot of gaps. When price is heavily short, right, it will be giving us a lot of breakaway gaps. If you are the type that learn about gaps or something like that, or you want me to do more video about gaps, I can actually give you guys that. So these are breakaway gaps. This is number one breakaway gaps. This is another breakaway gap. So price is heavily short, heavily, very heavily short. So you don't expect every support. And if it's not that, I said it's not a good support. It's just a short-term support. I don't mean it took this low and then bought. We can be referencing that as a good support, right? But we didn't see that. Price just reject a little bit then and then broke through, right? So price is heavily short here. Every weak support will not be respected. They will not be respected. Now, so I want to check this if we have an engulfing candle there so that we can see what price actually did. Yeah, you can see this is point one, this is point two, and then we have this candle engulfed. In this case now, it was a bullish candle engulfing a bearish candle, right? Which is a very, very good signal for a buy, right? You can see this candle was engulfing this candle. See this massive rejection that came in. It didn't took out the whole low. You can see it was respected, right? The body was staying above the body of this candle, which is very, very valid, right? So how many percent moved from that? You can see it was actually a short-term buy. Don't forget, I said price was heavily short in that time, right? That very time, it was heavily, very heavily short. So every buy you are looking for will be a short-term buy, right? So price dipping into that picked an institutional or central bank support right there, and then you can see that massive rejection that we have to the upside. And then after we deal with that, and then we dropped, you can see. So which means in this case, if you if you are in a selling position here, price will kick you out. But if you are informed and you know what is going on, you will know where exactly to go for a buy or a sell in the marketplace, right? Now, price just what happened there was just a break and then we sold off, right? So what are we having here? The only opportunity that we got here was just a buy opportunity, which is even enough, right? So what what is the real main thing of the teaching here now? So just break like a change in a trend of from a bullish trend to a bearish trend. And the reason why we didn't really get an opportunity to trade right here is because this is just part of a bullish trend that has been coming from that low. It was a part of it, right? It was a part of it. Now, if you are to draw trend from here to here, you are going to get the whole stuff to something like this low to this low, right? This is the real support. Price breaks that support, and then it was capitalized on. And on a daily time frame, we are even getting an engulfing confirmation, right? Let's go to weekly. And when you come to weekly too, you can see this single candle engulfed the whole three candle, which is a very, very good signal too, right? So you can sell from that. You can sell from that. You see that? So this is a buying or uptrend changing to a downtrend, or you can call it a reversal, right? Which I did. We've done for a selling case, right? So let's go back to daily and look for more example. So now, do you understand why you really need to come to daily time frame? Because daily time frame is going to provide you bulk of movements in terms of price, and you'll be very, very disciplined in terms of looking for opportunity. All right. Very, very, very disciplined. Very, very disciplined. Now, I'll check something on this time frame. Right. So let's go to daily. Let's go to daily. So we have this trend. We have this trend line right here. This one, and then this. So yeah, so don't forget now an example that I gave us for a bullish trend turning to a bearish trend, right? I made mention of, if price created a whole swing like this, right? Then it's going to have a breakdown of this and this, which is very, very visible here, right? And then we can see, right? Price just broke through, and then we have a very good support. We have a very, very good support there. And then price traded back to that support for a sell, right? Even though this was a drawdown, you had been on a drawdown here, but coupled with one or two knowledge that you've gathered on this YouTube channel will actually guide you, right? It's going to guide you for you not to be, to manage or to be in a good decision in terms of entry. Now, you can see that we have a good support coupled with a reversal signal that we are getting. So what do we have again? Let's go to weekly if we have a good confirmation. Now, coming to weekly time frame, do we got an engulfing candle? Yes. This candle was engulfed. This bullish candle was engulfed, and then it was traded back to, and then we sold off. Do you see that? So those are the kind of things that you'll be looking for in terms of the selling case, right? And then for a buying case, let us come to daily now. Let's come to daily. Now, on our daily time frame, we have a very good support here. Very, very nice, good support. Now, see what we had. We have 0.1, 0.2, right? 1, 2, and then we can actually point these two because it was actually maintaining the old kind of trend, right? And then we had this in price. So you have to look basically to the low of every trend that was created if the candle were engulfed, right? Because that will be giving you some kind of opportunity in terms of looking for entries, right? So look at this low. Was the candle engulfed? No. Look at this low. Was the candle engulfed? Yes. Now, see what happened. This single candle engulfed these two candles right here. And you can see that was where price was holding up. Price was holding up at that very low. And then you can see we reversed aggressively from there. Even though we didn't really break the trend line, like we didn't break the low of the trend line, we've sold from here, we've made our profit, right? And then in terms of the low of the trend lines, right? You have to look at them. This is low 1, low 2, low 3. Low 3 was broken, and then we posted a new engulfing to sell from, right? And then low 2, we didn't get to have an engulfing. Low 3, we have an engulfing, right? And then you can see price was holding up there, and then we have a good buy, good massive buy from there, which is very, very nice, right? So this is how you can actually use your trend line very, very, very well. Now, let's get another example. This is basically for a new, now we have this eye and we have this eye. we have a high here, a low, a lower high. Price failed to created a new low, right? And then let's connect that together. You see that? So what can we see here? Before I say it, I want us to actually think about it. What can we see? What can we actually say here? You can see we have a high, we have a low, we have a lower high and a new low, right? So actually, this low was, don't forget, we can have something like this in price, right? It's an example of a good support too, right? If you remember, but it wasn't really, posting here, but it can be for a pending trade opportunity, right? We can be expecting price to actually draw to it, and then if price draw to it, then we'll be expecting some measure of buys also, right? So now, so what do we get now? We can see inside this whole zone alone, we have a low, a high, a lower low, and then a new higher high, right? So you can see, and we've broke through that trend line. We've broke through, right? And then we'll be waiting for price to retest this high, which price does did, right? And then we moved higher aggressively. So let's go to probably monthly to see if we have a good confirmation, because we are actually seeing this entry that setup on a weekly. Now you can see we have an engulfing candle there. So which is a very, very good confirmation, right? And then we moved higher aggressively, right? So guys, this is what I have for us. So um the rest of the work is left with you guys in terms of using Trendline very well, and then spotting a good support and resistance. So thank you guys.